Back for another segment of the 5-Star Podcast of Wrestling. I'm your host, Sean Meyers, going at it alone this week for the Raw recap. We already got to the Extreme Rules review. Now we're going to talk about what happened the following night on Monday Night Raw. And after Kurt Angle made an announcement at Extreme Rules regarding the future of the Universal Championship, he gave champion Brock Lesnar and his camp, which includes Paul Heyman, a number of choices on Monday Night Raw. He could show up, or he could agree to the next match, or he could forfeit the title. And with Lesnar not showing up on Raw right from the get-go, it appeared as though Kurt Angle was going to strip Brock Lesnar of the Universal Championship, which is something that fans legitimately have been wanting for quite some time since he just does not wrestle enough. So they're going forward with a storyline built around this, and I think it's a pretty good idea because fans legitimately aren't happy with how it's being presented. They've turned it into a storyline, which you could argue is, a problem in itself, that they're, making a storyline out of the fact that their champion is never there. But, they're going forward with it, and it's, if nothing else, at least interesting content for TV. So as you see, Kurt Angle was met by Paul Heyman, who I guess reluctantly accepted that Brock Lesnar would have to defend the championship at SummerSlam. So we know now that the Universal title will once again be on the line for the first time since the Greatest Royal Rumble shortly after WrestleMania. Brock Lesnar against? Well, we'll find out next week because Kurt Angle set up a pair of triple threat matches. Basically, 6 guys came out after Heyman and Angle were going back and forth in the ring and said, I deserve a title shot, so on and so forth. So Kurt decides to make 2 triple threat matches. Really not much more thought into it than that. Which, storyline-wise, it's kind of like everyone just showed up out there. Why do those people get chances? But it is some pretty talented guys. So the first match that he made, Roman Reigns, Finn Balor, and Drew McIntyre. A little surprising to see Drew in this spot because he's pretty much just been a bodyguard, if you will, to Dolph Ziggler over the past couple months, and he played that role again on Sunday at Extreme Rules, helping Ziggler retain the Intercontinental title against Seth Rollins. But now McIntyre's getting a chance for a title shot. Glad to see him get in this match, as well as Finn, who was victorious on Sunday. And then, of course, Roman was going to be in there, no surprise. The big dog gets another crack despite losing. He came out and said, I just want a match. I don't deserve necessarily to be in this because I lost, but I just want a match. Well, Kurt Angle, not listening, gave him an opportunity anyway. Roman ultimately won the match. Not really a surprise there. Although I will say, I thought it was a great showing for Drew McIntyre. After main eventing against Seth Rollins 2 weeks ago, he gets into another match. Not in the main event, it was earlier in the show, but a big match nonetheless. So it really seems like Drew McIntyre, heading into SummerSlam, just about a month away, he is going to be a big-time player in WWE. This match showed that, and he was booked pretty well. He looked strong. At times, he looked like the best guy in the match. So he's a star on the rise, but Roman Reigns, as unpopular as it might be for some, he advances, so he wins the first triple threat match. And the stipulation that was set up by Kurt Angle was the winner of triple threat match number 1 will face the winner of the second triple threat match next week. The winner of that match then becomes the number 1 contender to face Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. So he had already selected Roman Reigns, Finn Balor, Drew McIntyre, and needed 3 more individuals. Those were the other 3 that had come out to the ring. It was Lashley, who defeated Roman Reigns just the night earlier, Seth Rollins, who lost to Dolph Ziggler in his opportunity to win back the Intercontinental title, and Elias, who was not used whatsoever at Extreme Rules and sort of, for the most part, has been on the sidelines in recent weeks. So you put those 3 together, they finished off Raw in the final hour, and ultimately, as you see, Bobby Lashley wins. Really, after Roman Reigns won, I figured Lashley was going to have to win this match because having beaten Roman just the night before, you have to get Lashley in this title picture. So Lashley defeats both Seth Rollins and Elias. And while I'm okay with Lashley having this opportunity, there's some real question marks. First off, if Lashley and Roman are wrestling for the number 1 contendership this upcoming Monday, what was the point of them having the match at Extreme Rules? Why not just make that match at Extreme Rules for the #1 contendership, or just not have that match altogether at the pay-per-view if they were going to ultimately go through with this storyline on Raw? So you get a rematch after Bobby Lashley cleanly pinned Roman Reigns in what will be 8 days later. They'll do battle again, this time with a lot more on the line. The #1 contender will result. And we'll find out who challenges Brock Lesnar. I thought all along it was going to be Roman Reigns. Still could be. But it's starting to look like maybe Bobby Lashley might be the guy. We've already seen Roman and Brock twice this year. Fans were not interested in it. I don't know if they're going to go for the third time and sort of force that down the fans' throats. You never know with Vince McMahon. But it seems like the tide is turning a little bit with Bobby Lashley, who in his own right is not particularly popular right now, although I think that could change in the weeks to come if he's presented correctly. The storyline of Sami Zayn did him no favors. Being thrown in random tag teams with Braun Strowman and others did him no favors. But now we'll see if maybe he's able to find his stride a little bit with this singles push towards the main event picture. So he and Roman will do battle next week, and we'll see which way the company ultimately goes. But the other takeaway is you have 4 guys that were not victorious. Seth Rollins, what does he do now? Probably out of the Intercontinental title picture, so you need an opponent for him. Then you have Drew McIntyre on the rise. Maybe those 2 guys get paired together. And then Finn Balor and Elias, both of them on the outside looking in. And the guy that they alluded to this, which I like, Braun Strowman did not come out, did not involve himself in this. He said, I can get a title match whenever I want. Remember, he has the Money in the Bank briefcase. You have to wonder, no matter who challenges Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, will it ultimately be the monster among men who walks out with the championship? I think that's probably, at least right now, what I put my money on, is that Braun Strowman either makes it a triple threat or cashes in on the champion after the match wraps up at SummerSlam between Brock and whomever the challenger is. But I think Braun Strowman well positioned to be the Universal Champion by the time that SummerSlam ends. And there was another thing that I want to highlight from Monday Night Raw. And it's hard to discuss all the things that go down in the 3+ hours. But something that is pretty significant on the women's side is Ronda Rousey will be getting another title match. She's wrestled 2 matches, the second of which was for the Raw Women's title. Match number 3, in all likelihood, will be for the Raw Women's title as well. As Kurt Angle announced, yeah, she's suspended. That suspension's coming to an end pretty soon, and she will be going against the champion, Alexa Bliss. Now, they've sort of been going with this storyline ever since Alexa did the Money in the Bank cash-in at Money in the Bank. She won the briefcase and then cashed it in later that night, costing both Ronda and Nia Jax, who were in the midst of a great brawl, just a slobber knocker to channel Jim Ross between those two. So Alexa cashed in then, cost Ronda Rousey, cost Nia Jax. And immediately Ronda snapped on Alexa Bliss the next night. She got suspended, was able to appear at Extreme Rules as a fan. Then, of course, she had to intervene. But ultimately, Alexa found a way to retain the title, and now they're going straight into Ronda and Alexa, and that's already been announced for SummerSlam, unless Ronda Rousey does something against the rules between now and then. Kurt Angle said that she would lose her opportunity. If that's the case, I don't think that's going to happen. Ultimately, I believe that that match will take place. So, is it too early for Ronda Rousey? Some people would say no. I think it probably is. Not in the sense that she doesn't have the talent to already be as good as any of the women in the company. But she just, fans don't like that Roman Reigns gets handed all these opportunities and always is in the main event, whether they like it or not. How is this any different with Ronda Rousey? Yes, she comes in with great recognition. Everyone knows her accolades prior to WWE. But to give her a title match in her second match, a title match in her third match, and this one probably she will win, you have to argue, is that fair? That, is this ultimately going to turn some of the fans against her? I don't know, but I could make the argument that you probably want to maybe wait until WrestleMania for her to capture the championship. I mean, that to me would be much more fitting than having her win at SummerSlam in just her third match. Yeah, she's jumped to the front of the line. They explained it with Nia challenging her the first time, but now Kurt Angle said, yeah, you're the number one contender. And pretty much every other woman on Raw goes by the wayside. Bayley and Sasha Banks, they're still in the midst of their storyline, wherever that's going to go. They're trying to make them friends now again, seemingly. Ember Moon just suffered her first defeat on Raw to Sarah Logan. Think that was sort of a head-scratching decision. Thought maybe Ember could be in line to challenge for the title if they wanted to hold off on Ronda Rousey. That's a clear alternative they could have gone with, is Ember Moon challenging in SummerSlam against Alexa, but they decided not to go that route. They're not wasting any time. They're jumping right into Ronda Rousey in the biggest matches possible. We'll see if Natalya or if Nia Jax play a role in this, because they both were sort of intertwined to what's been happening over the past couple months between Alexa and Ronda. But it looks as though upcoming in probably about a month's time, we could have Ronda Rousey as WWE Raw Women's Champion. Never bet against Alexa Bliss, I would say, but at this point it looks like almost inevitable that Ronda's time is upcoming sooner, certainly rather than later. That's going to do it for the Raw recap overall. I thought it was an okay show. They made some pretty significant strides towards SummerSlam, and they got some guys involved in prominent roles, guys like Elias, Drew McIntyre, Finn Balor, that certainly needed that little boost. But how things play out over the next couple weeks will certainly be significant as well in determining if Monday Night Raw is able to carry some momentum into SummerSlam. Coming off of 2 weeks ago, the lowest ratings in Raw history, I think this show certainly was a little bit improved over 2 weeks ago. Nonetheless, that's going to do it for the Raw recap. I'll be back momentarily to touch base on Tuesday night with the SmackDown summary. That's upcoming right here on the 5-Star Podcast of Wrestling.